talking about how the English, the people who are so quick to call us savages, became quote unquote civilized. He attributes this and their Christianization to the interests of Gregory the Great, who, as Yarrow, an Englishman, tells us, one day while walking along the slave market in Rome, saw for sale about 15 or 20 fair-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired young people laying in the dirt, barefooted, and bear in mind this is still an Englishman talking. And he asks the owner, who are they? And the owner says, they come from across the English Channel. If you're interested in buying them, you can have 3 for the price of 1 or any of the other slaves. He said they're cheap because they're only worth 1/3 as much as anybody else is worth. Blows your mind, doesn't it? And say the country that they come from is a place called Canaanland. And Gregory is supposed to have said, he said then, are they Christian? And the guy said, are you kidding? Hell no, they're heathen. Hell no, they're heathen.
Yeah. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I'm going at dirty rappers, lynching dirty Moors too. Hiding literature that Drew wrote to warn you. They claim to make you Muslim and make you sovereign. With paperwork and filings, it's fiat and robbing. They don't care about his words, throw it out like garbage. Or throw it at you when you're active, not passive. When they want to talk about like off a trampoline mattress, treat them like a vamp or a teen actress. Get stabbed with a brand like a mean savage. This Inquisition divine, all others average. Millennium Renaissance, heroes in our classes. Shut up with the czar controlling fascists. Ask if they heard about Moors, they say no. But Masons, they obviously know about the handshakes and rituals with skull and bones. They even know about owls burning Bohemian Grove. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. Dirty Moors killed Drew. I read the FBI papers on loyal Moors, emergency fund rapers. Moorish literature and divine bylaw changes. Might as well say Drew Ali was born in a manger. Prophets push poison aside and his food smelled danger. Got me treating every Moor like a stranger. Grand Chief One-kin stumbling drunk in their feds. What was proclaimed for every meeting was not read. Some Moors are so active, prophet can be dead. Thanks Moorish teachers away, I can't be led. Actions speak, then I consider what's said. And what's said was study, then study yourself. Honest to the prophet over Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. Everybody wants to be just like Drew Ali, but nobody wants to care about Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did.
And conscious means that you're conscious of what's going on in this world. You're fully aware and awake to what's going on in this world. That's what conscious rap means. So if you got conscious rap, that means you got unconscious rap. That means you got motherfuckers that's unconscious rapping. That means they sleeping. They still under the spell of Leviathan. They still under the spell of Kingdom.
Call me brother man, I'm not the rubber man. Though I keep my Nazis in affairs wrapped with some rubber bands. Burning out the Ku Klux Klan and with the Grand Dairy Queen misters. Just butts of guns I'm giving. Trying to make more sovereign citizens, these minions. Help kill your prophet, stole your treasury millions. You heard it from your brother man. Now the smother sell out. Test links and K2 Kush days keep me red out. I got the knowledge to make these silly hoes question the pimping directors of music videos. Gay laws and persons with strap-on boots with heels. Too much graphic art faces. Boobs are not real. Since MCM and Troop, they use Timberland boots to get us all caught up in fashion, not the simple men roots. Got our people on dogmatic, not metaphysic. Exoteric, not esoteric is how you missed it. So out of it, you couldn't feel the natural mystic blowing through the air like it didn't give a shit. I hear the dirty Moors dissing, cause I said profanities. A lot of these grand sheets need to take off the panties. Pull the thong out your crack vest, wear him sash ass nigga. Return to where the prophet found you, Negro, what's that nigga?
It's time to choose a side. You either positive or you negative. You either evil or you good. You understand what I'm saying? Choose a side, nigga. I know what side I'm on.
I throw a Molotov at the priest that works for the beast. All they want is our people to rest in peace. No attention of allowing more stress to ease. Cracker won't go home to spread himself the disease. Genocidal epidemic kill us in high proportions. Instead of mummified, we stay boxed in coffins. Mayors attend funerals for PR purposes. Where's the police escort? He replied with nervousness. He said, I don't have those numbers or connections to have Metro Police lead your friend's funeral procession. That's coming from Mr. Mayor, black community player, no question in the hoods dropping out boxes of weapons. Then blame black on black crime or natural causes. Plus those doctors are not on point but off a bit. Natural mystics prove they're not holistic. Hypocrite oaths make your children autistic.
I'm at the point now where I'm saying I'm tired of mixing the medicine with the food. I'm tired of playing that game. Now I'm shoving straight medicine down your fucking throat, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Straight doses of medicine and getting shoved down your throat. I don't give a fuck if it turns you off or not. Because if it do turn you off, then you're a stupid, ignorant motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Don't judge like a cover of your favorite book. Visit you in your dreams, hand with the hook. Paralysis overtook. So shook, stop, look, listen with precision. MC on a mission, vision. Past senses and endless. Cypher with active Moors, beat you with facts senseless. Have your mind defenseless when the truth enters. I blow. Reminds me of Omar Bay, Algonquin embers. Tap your pioneer out what some man remembers. All the lies told to your mind dismembered. Circle broken into quadrants, either 7 and the center compass G between the square. Baphomet of Templars, Warlock. Call on my witch mothers to maim them. The same wise spirits burned at stakes in Salem. Torture with vagina pair, survive, bobbing for apples. Contort thumb slide, wrist out, tight shackles.
Islam, Moors. Islam. Tuesday. We're here. We just got it confirmed just so all the Moors could know what's going on. February 22nd, 2020, we're going to be doing our annual Curtin Black History Month to Moorish our story in what they so-called call the capital, Ottawa. And honors to the Moors near that corporation, Ottawa, that are doing the work to uplift fallen humanity. Right? You want to know what Moors are doing? Moors are uplifting fallen humanity. That's what the true Moors are doing. At the same time, doing all the other stuff that they got to do, just because, you know what I mean? There's only going to be a handful of saves, so we already know. We already know the boat left the dock. People are playing around like something's going on or something. But since you want to play games, you know, leave honors where the honor's supposed to go. Forget any of these Moors out here telling me whatever. We know Moors in Ottawa, we know that there were no Moors there. We know for a fact that place didn't have conscious Moors. That place didn't have conscious Moors until these Moors said, we're Moors. And they start exercising as Moors. Also Montreal as well. Mount Royal. Or Mount Real. Either way you go, Kemetic Moorish, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same. But these Moors put in some work. These Moors put in work. Super work. Right? And still working. You know, and working on self. And working on family. Because Ain't nobody coming to save you. We know that those Moors put in some work. And when we go there, we're going there with Moors, but when we go there, there's Moors there who know that we're Moors, and they're going to say Islam just like how we're going to say Islam and all that, and just no issues. Doesn't matter who they're studying from, where they're studying from, whatever. When the Moors in Canaanland see each other, they know what's up. Because you wouldn't be seeing each other if we weren't putting in the work. And we're distant from each other, just like certain Moors are distant from us. And before they go to the temple right down the street where they live or whatever, because they know that they're sellouts, they're going to make their way to Canaanland once a year, sometimes twice or 3 times a year, just because. So work got put in for us to be able to say that we're Canaanland Moors. We didn't just pop up yesterday like these people, you people listening to. We put in some work, and it's proven, it's shown the work that we put in. And our job is uplifting fallen humanity. And we know Moors woke up because of the direction that Canaanland Moors showed them to go. Moors woke up. Moors, all the stuff they're talking about are sovereign citizen Moors and all that stuff. We know Moors who did those stuff and they didn't have no issues with no sovereign citizen anything. They're straight right now. They don't have no IRS coming to them asking them any questions and none of that. Like some other people who have nationality cards and they're going to court for $1 billion fraud, whatever, and you're still putting them on camera or whatever. And we're tripping just because we're saying we're Moors, but you're not tripping for just putting the agent back out there again. Like you don't know what's going on. How many people right? How many people know that Nation of Islam people have Moorish nationality paperwork? Or they have Moorish card, or they went through some Moorish process to correct their status. These NOI people. This is not what we say. You go check their own records. They'll tell you. Man said, forget that X and stuff like that. I'm going to be Bay and L and Ali and all that. Forget about X. And you have people with 55X and all that. They think they're somebody because they studied the teachings of the Elijah Muhammad and all that. These people are playing games. Everybody knows we're Moors. There's no dispute. There shouldn't be dispute. If there's dispute, it's because the elephant in the room with the fez on, nobody wants to deal with or address.
Yep.
The 4-letter word. The 4-letter word that have people saying, hell no, I'm taking the other way. What you mean you're taking the other way? What more you want than what Noble Drew Ali brought back to you? What more you want? And just going beyond how much finance you got, how much houses you got, how much, how long you be doing the right to travel. All that doesn't mean anything. are you going to be true to the cause of what this is about, which is uplifting fallen humanity? This is not about pushing packages and stuff and selling stuff. We're just doing that because the info has to get out. That's just the natural thing to do. You get it? You put it out so others have it. And you know what they do with it, that's up to them. It's like the more saying, we you know, hearing things, and then we're going back 5, 10, 15 years of our scholars' work, and they're saying that stuff that people are talking crazy about right now. Like they're saying something big or something. Not saying nothing. Other master teachers said that same stuff 20 years ago. So is everybody the new decoder guy? I mean, when this turned into make a name for yourself? These are poor righteous teachers for a reason. Like it was poor righteous teachers for a reason. Because the riches is your knowledge. That's the riches. Your knowledge.
Islam, Grand Sheik.
Islam more.
Krishna Maturi calls it the setting up shop. When people start thinking they know some information, they can teach you how to do this, do that, because they had a little bit of information given to them. Now they want to set up shop. Now come see me. I'm the guy. Pay me. They're the guru. But like you said, master teachers been saying this 20 years ago. The new guys now, they, like Krishna Maturi says, they do the setting up shop. Because now they need finance for something they just figured out because they watched some video. So now they want you to come to their channel, watch them, donate. What do they say? Donate to my Patreon and all of this crap. And because they watched some video. When Krishna Maturi was going in on it, I was like, that's exactly what's going on. But the information been there. Been there. But to go in more, he was like, but you're some guru or whatever, but there's still destruction going on in the world. People are still being evil. So all of this guru stuff that you're bringing, is it really helping?
Right.
Is it really what it is? And I'm like, yo, look at that. Look at that. People still going out here going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But you're the guru. Nope. It's the setting up shop.
So we're going to go today just to get on some other dirty Moors that you might not have thought were dirty Moors, right? Because when Noble Drew Ali was around, people were, you know what I mean, shoes shine, you know, ties straight and all that. And a lot of things that he presented to the Moors is because of people siding with certain people and not realizing that they're actually agents of the court. Doesn't matter if they say they're in your favor or not, or they know you and they're gonna do whatever. They're officer of the court. So you have to deal with them accordingly, especially if you're talking about nationality and birthrights. So we know our nationality is tied to Moorish. So everything Moorish, we're taking into consideration. As soon as it's expressed, I don't care if people want to say ish and all that stuff, that's up to them. If I hear Moorish, that's my stuff right there. As soon as I hear that, oh yeah, that's mine. And then we go check, what is this? And I hear more talking about officer of the court talking crazy about Moorish, right?
Yep, crazy.
Talking nuts about Moorish. Talking nuts about Moorish to the point where, hold on a second. Where is it that you get your jurisdiction?
Right.
On every level. Like where do you get your jurisdiction? Right. And that's why we played the
hello,
beginning
friends,
clip.
family, and common.
That's how we played the beginning clip with Professor William Mackey talking about the slaves in Canaanland that were blonde hair, blue eye, laying in the dirt. And the man said that they're not even Christian. They're heathen. What do you mean Christian? They're not Christian. They're heathen. Why? Because Christianity is not theirs. There's no such thing as some Europeans and that's their stuff. So when people take a position of saying they're representing law and whatever, and then they bring the Moors in it, like Moors are anti that, know that these people are the colonists. Because they're the only ones that would go there. Only a colonist would tell a Moor there's no such thing as right to travel, so go get a license. Now that's what a colonist would do. That's what a colonist would say. Because they're trying to take, because of the inactivity on the civic perspective by Moors, because they're playing Moorish Science Temple BS and not Moorish Science Temple Regency, they allowed these little knick-knack people right now to be able to talk crazy about Moorish. When, how dare you? How dare you even try to utter the word from some perspective of criminal or whatever, knowing what the Moors did, which we'll get to remind you about certain things that you might have forgot. But before we go in on this more, you have any comments?
The part where you was saying, the dirty Moors, enormous shit. We are all Moors. So, the little friend guy we're about to go in on, again, we are all Moors. This is a so-called, what we will call nowadays a modern European. But we know that over the years that it was mixed with Moors. So now we know that they're dirty Moors because the normal shit, we are all Moors. But again, these dirty Moors working for the colonizers or, trying to promote the Roman side of the agenda and not go along with the Moors and what we push with our 5 principles. It's a big old, my thing was like, yo, this is crazy because he's going so hard on Moors. And I'm like, but his ancestors were Moors. Like, so how could he say what he was saying? And again, we all know because our little friend guy is a so-called attorney. And we all know that attorneys are officers of the court, like the Grand Chief said. So we're gonna go in on all of that. You know, like I don't want to hop it because I know you want to play the video first.
We could play. Yeah, we could play.
Or whatever, you know.
There was any, or just let it run from the top.
Yeah, because I don't have no points.
All right, okay, yeah.
He just kills himself talking.
Yeah.
Common Sensors. This is Joe Palmetto, Joe the lawyer at the Common Sense Academy. Today we're going to be talking about a news article out of my home state, the great Commonwealth. It's actually a Commonwealth, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which also happens to be the Moorish sovereign citizen capital of the world, at least from what I can see.
What is that?
Right. Please.
What is that? Like where does that come from? How does somebody just take the position of creating something? Remember, you're saying that this is lawyer or whatever. This is the people who work for them. The people who work for them are saying that Philadelphia is, no, they said that is a commonwealth, okay. But for that to be the Moorish sovereign capital of the world could only mean that there was a point in time when Moors in Philadelphia were very active.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about the low-lying areas or capital places or whatever. We're talking about the whole jurisdiction, or quote unquote, like they say, the Commonwealth. All of that had to have some serious type of Moorish-minded activity by people who look like us for them to even equate it being a Moorish sovereign, because there is such thing as Moorish sovereign. The citizen part, I don't know what that is, but there is Moorish sovereignty that does exist. So if Moorish sovereignty exists, then yes, there are Moorish sovereigns. And those people are tied to an empire. And being that they're tied to empire, there's no creating a jurisdiction to put them in. They're already in a jurisdiction. And making the claim on the jurisdiction is what shuts these people down, especially if you're exercising the claim with a civic mindset. Because he's going to say, lawyer. But a lawyer is a person learned in the law. If a lawyer is a person learned in the law, just like an attorney, it says a person learned in the law as an attorney, counsel, or solicitor. A person licensed to practice law. How could they be practiced to license law but always deal with legalese? Always deal with legalese. Anti-government activists, that's legalese. Incident with the officer and restraining and all that, all those type of talk. That's not telling the true situation. And this is a thing that they do when they engage Moors. As soon as you start talking civics, they're immediately going to sovereign citizen. Immediately. And you have to know immediately that your defense is that you're not that. Because I've heard of Moors getting tripped up because these people put Moorish on it and say sovereign citizen, and Moors saying, yeah, he's that. Because it says Moorish sovereign there, so that means no, but they put citizen on it. Which they're really talking about sovereign citizen that has nothing to do with Moorish. Moorish and it is not even in the same jurisdiction that you can attach them like that. The sovereign citizen movement is really the patriot movement, which was really Europeans who were just fighting for the republic. Oh yeah, mad. That's their corporation. They can fight for that if they want to. Corporation got nothing to do with you. Where's your constitution at? Is the question. And then nobody's gonna point to CMB or point to Noble Drew Ali. They're gonna go looking for some Indian whatever talking about that's the constitution of something. And these people know this. It's not like they don't know. They know this. They're extremely familiar. Because why? It means their game of assuming jurisdiction can't be played only on those who are ignorant to the will. Because once you put it in your mind, you know, the will's going to take it and do what it's supposed to do. You're not thinking that you're a Moor for no reason. This didn't make sense to you because you weren't part of this ancient days. Yeah, it's making sense to you because you've been here before and you know what's up already. That's why it's so easy to be a Moor. But the ones that Noble Drew Ali talked about, the hard-head, stiff-neck ones, who only learn at the point of a sword, they're in the fallen humanity that they need to get put on some game. Because they'll have people sell out their birthright, and because of their novice mind, they get trapped up in some stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with Moorish or anything. These people just playing games with your stuff because you lack knowledge, refuse to study for real. You know, these Europeans used to have to pay to talk. You have to pay to talk. Now they're talking crazy. Yo, they used to have to pay to talk.
Yep. In the book Moorish Empire in Europe, they weren't even, they would be beheaded if they was to eat around Moors. They couldn't even eat. If a Moor was coming and they was eating, they would have to stop eating. They couldn't even eat, or that was your head. In the book Moorish Empire in Europe by S.P. Scott.
So don't think this is just some hatred. This is some hatred or whatever. This is history. This is not some Moors hate Europeans and all that stuff. Get the hell out of here with that. Because we know some good Europeans, better than some of these Moors. So don't even try. This is strictly for you to know something. Think about something for a sec. Look at something from a different perspective so you can find your way through this stuff. Remember, there's some Moors who they came into this information and they took off. And there's some people that snails with this. Doesn't matter where you're at. Once you get the point that you're a Moor and you have a nationality and birthrights, you know, if you don't do anything else, Noble Juali said, declare your nationality. If you don't do anything else, just say you're a Moor. Doesn't matter what somebody says, doesn't matter what you heard, doesn't matter, nothing. If it came down to the get down and somebody came up to you and said, what's your status? And they said it just like that in those words. Just tell them you're a Moor. If you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. Declare it. If you don't do anything else. We're not even asking you to do anything else. Just do that.
Yep.
Because we know that's the ritual.
About status.
Yeah, we know that's the ritual. Once you do that, you're going to be seeing so much things, which will be signs that'll make you get it. And then after the universe slaps you and you don't get it, then it's on you after that. Whatever happens, you're responsible. But you can't be, look how many people know that they're Moors. These things right here are directly to cause confusion. Directly to cause confusion.
Yep.
And we know Moors are giving up their birthright because of this type of stuff, thinking that this is just like with Masonry. They see something Masonic and they start tripping out. Oh my God, we can't do. No, all that is your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They just mask it different. It's your thing. Has nothing to do with them like that. But because they're talking about fleets police and drags officer and all that stuff for clickbait or whatever, you're not looking at it logically. It's a lot more.
Islam. Now, the European or modern European, like I said, we all Moors, Norman shit. He keeps saying now that was the first thing. He got all antsy and called Pennsylvania a state. And then he said, oh, I'm sorry, it's a commonwealth. And I'm like, okay, we know law specific. You're a lawyer guy, you're already making mistakes in the beginning. And it's a video. He could have chopped it up and did it, but he's lazy. And because you're being lazy, now I'm listening to your words now because he said we're in the Commonwealth. Now, when you look up Commonwealth from Black's Law Dictionary, page 348, it gives you the three definitions, but 3 paragraphs. But the small one, the one in the smaller print, it goes in. But before I even read the definition, Commonwealth, when you look at it, it doesn't say anything about the word land is not mentioned in Commonwealth. Land is not, a state is not mentioned, land is not mentioned, none of that. None of that. On page 348, definition of Commonwealth. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read the smaller print. It says, in the later sense, it is the official title of several of the United States. Now, we know United States is a corporation, right? It says, in this later sense, it is the official title of several of the United States, as Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Kentucky. It would be appropriate, to them all. In the former sense, the word was used to designate the English government during the protectorate of Cromwell. Where does this say anything about the North American continent?
Mm-hmm.
And the land being called the Commonwealth? Where is it saying that? It just told you something about an English government during the protectorate of Cromwell. And we know the United States is a corporation. And then in the paragraph above it, it says sometimes it may denote the corporate entity or the government or jural society or state possessing powers of self-government in respect of its immediate concerns by forming an integral part of larger government or a nation. But it told you in the first line. Sometimes it may denote the corporate entity. Commonwealth, corporation. Where's the land? Doesn't say anything about any land. And the only time it gives you a whiff of some land is talking about in England with the English government and the protectorate of Cromwell. So when they talking about Commonwealth, they talking about English law. This Morocco. How they bring in English law? And then Joe Palmetto, the lawyer guy that's talking, his heraldry is Italian. So he would have to bring Italian Constitution. He can't use the American Constitution. He's not a party to it. You're Italian. You can't enforce any American anything. This ain't Italy. You need to have your Italian Constitution. Mm-hmm. How are you doing that? And then again, these people think because they're citizens, which is fraud, that makes them part of the land. No, you need to have green cards. Where's your green card to even be here? Like this Morocco. He says that he's in the Commonwealth. How are you in the Commonwealth? When by definition, there's no, where are you at? Where are you? Sometimes it may denote a corporate entity. That means it's fake. It doesn't exist. It's fake. It's not even real. And he's saying that's where he's at. And then try to slander the Moors by calling us sovereign citizens and basically say that Commonwealth is our hub. When the Moors was ruling, that wasn't called what it's called when he's no Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. that wasn't called no Commonwealth when the Moors was ruling. This is the Moroccan Empire. And again, like you said earlier, Green Sheet, they're doing this all to cause confusion. They put these videos up to cause confusion. Because people come up there, see, the Moors aren't blah, 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 blah. Because modern European colonizer is up here promoting Roman agenda. And now other dirty Moors are going to use him or anybody else that's promoting Moors as sovereign citizens. That's what it is. Even though we know, again, we all know that Moorish sovereign citizen crap came from Southern Poverty Center, SPLC or whatever they call it. And the Grand Sheik has done many videos exposing them, how they're a fraud. Their so-called federal government or whatever said that they were a fraud. And then these people still use them. The news outings and lawyer people, whatever, still use Southern Poverty Center like they're credible. They're not even credible. But these are the guys who are using them are supposed to have some doctorate in something. They're supposed to be the main guy on the news anchor, and everybody's listening. Oh, it was on the news, so it must be true. Nope. And the people who are not studying, or the people who are pushing this agenda, use this stuff to cause confusion. And again, the people who don't study fall for it easily, like all that, and then start walking around with them talking about all that Moorish stuff going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
No, your incompetence is going to get you in trouble every time.
No. Okay, so someone in the chat said, please touch on Sabir Bey, saying there's no flag 10,000 years old, and it's actually French, and Beys came from Turkey and not Morocco. I haven't been able to find anything saying so. Well, I'll go with Noble Drew Ali, because,
Right.
I mean, he was the prophet, and he did things here. We have pictures of him or whatever, so I'm gonna go with him. That the flag was 10,000 years old.
And that's a Bey saying that too. That's crazy.
Right. I'm gonna go with him, because the French were definitely not 10,000 years old.
They weren't even called the French 10,000 years ago.
So 10,000 years
That's a modern
ago,
word.
no French.
There's no France. That's fraud. That's Gaul, which the Moors ruled. They got a city there called Montpellier. They had the number top 5 school there in the world. Moors built that. The whole city. The language of French, which is really Gaelic, they say that the French language is very, attractive. Moors made that up. And no caveman made that up. Again, get the book. S.P. Scott, Moorish Empire in Europe. He breaks down all of that.
Moorish Empire in Europe.
Breaks down all of that. I can't believe, and that's coming from a Bey. A Bey is telling you that Bey came from Turkey. And that's crazy.
But then again, it's from the perspective that Turkey is some European whatever. That's not European. That's not pale people. They rule Turkey. Turkey's our stuff.
Nope. Yep.
Turkey's not some pale people. They might have pale people today, but before that was Turkey. That was some dark-skinned people's territory, which would have included Morocco and everywhere else around there.
All of that was part of the Moorish Empire. All of that. All of that. Turkey is modern. That Turkey over there, that's modern. That wasn't the original name of that place.
And we see 20 people in there. 20 people in there didn't push the thumbs up. So either you're sneak studying, or you just forgot. You just forgot to check it. But yeah, so back to this guy.
The article today we're going to cover: anti-government activist heads to trial for incident with officer. It's kind of funny they call this person an anti-government activist. This writer is obviously not that familiar with the sovereign citizen movement, because what we're actually dealing with here is a Moorish sovereign citizen. So before we dig into the article, grab your cup, your glass, your jug, your canteen, whatever beverage it is that you are drinking today and that you would like to share with me. Today I am drinking my coffee, which is the greatest beverage ever created by man. Well, I am sure some of you disagree with me.
Yeah, boy.
The Moors invented coffee. Coffee is an Arabic word, not by man. The Moors made coffee.
No,
Coffee is an Arabic word.
The Moorish sovereign citizens made the coffee. The Moorish sovereign citizens are the founders of coffee. But you're talking crazy about Moorish sovereign citizens. Oh,
the best beverage in the world.
The best beverage in the world. But you're drinking the best beverage of the world from the Moors, who you have a problem with. But you're going to talk
This is their
crazy.
lawyer guy.
But you're going to talk crazy.
PhD. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, just want to remind people, too, that don't get fooled when they say that they're a lawyer and all that stuff. Attorney. In the most general sense, this term denotes an agent or a substitute, or one who is appointed and authorized to act in the place or stead of another. Don't they have a license to practice law? All right, they're attorney. Because they were appointed and given authorization to act. One who is put in place, stead, and turn of another to manage his matters of law. An agent employed by party to case to manage it for him. When used with reference to the proceedings of courts or the transaction or business in the courts, the term always means attorney at law, unless a contrary meaning is clearly indicated. Lawyer and attorney are synonymous. An agent, a substitute. Who's he substituting? Who's he substituting for? The one who hired him. Because that individual doesn't have a status. So because they don't have a status, they need someone to talk for them. And then they have you thinking that agent means you're the agent of the lawyer because you hired them and they're representing you in court. But they're the real agent because they're the officer of the court. They don't work for the people. And that's off the top, you know they don't work for the people, even though they're going to drink the people's coffee.
Delicious. Okay, anti-government activist heads to trial for incident with officer. This is out of Westchester, which is right around the Philadelphia area of Pennsylvania, which is eastern PA. The criminal trial of a former Immaculatus University student who has espoused anti-government views and questioned the legitimacy of the court proceedings against her opened with jury selection Monday in Chester County. Now, this article is from January 28th, so we may actually have a verdict on this, which I'm going to check at the end. Janae Rebecca Smith, 28, of Philadelphia, is accused of dragging a police officer down a street with the car she was driving following a routine traffic stop in Malvern 2 years ago. A felony for which she faces a maximum prison term of more than 90 years if convicted. The officer suffered moderate injuries in the incident.
Oh. You heard how they dealt with that, right? Now, how come they didn't talk about this? How come they didn't talk about this being sovereign citizen? Remember, he's lawyer guy, right? He's attorney guy. Central Arkansas attorney wants clarity on officers of the court. Suit filed after he was designed courthouse entry with gun. And this is from January 13th, 2020. So, you know.
Last month.
Right? You know? So, we're just saying that something's going on here. Now, if you pull up the article, Central Arkansas attorney wants clarity on officers of the court. And then go under news, it'll come up. Right? Now, the person writing the article is John Moritz.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that.
The person writing the article is John Moritz on January 13th.
Goodness.
The picture has 3 heads coming out of the wall over 3 arches.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Under a ledge with 3 balconies, with 3 windows, with 3 pyramids on top of the windows.
This the court that they going in.
The court that they're going in. Now, the court that they're going in, this is the court where they're going in for the suit with the deny the entry. The court that they're going in is Pulaski County Courthouse in downtown Little Rock. Pulaski Courthouse is what they would say Romanesque architecture. Romanesque architecture.
Can you spell that Romanesque, please?
Romanesque.
Because I want them to, hear the Romanesque and how they. Well, what's the ish on the Moorish?
Yeah.
Which is the ISH, and Romanesque.
Yeah.
So we can know the difference between esque and ish.
Yeah. And then you would just look it up and it would say Roman -esque.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And esque is resembling. So we're looking at Romanesque, and then we're saying, oh, it was from Roman. There's some Roman stuff. It's resembling Roman architecture.
Right.
But then when you research these Romanesque styles, they tell you that it's not just Romanesque. It's Romanesque and Mujadar. And that the Mujadar style comes out of Andalusia. Now remember, they never bring up Mujadar. They always bring up Romanesque.
Well, what is it resembling?
Right? What is it resembling? Right? Hear what it's resembling. The style unique. Remember, this is the court where they're going to for the lawyer suing the court for not letting him take his gun in the court. The style,
which proves that he's an officer of the court. Look, like this is crazy right now. This whole thing is crazy.
The style unique to southern Spain and lasting into the 16th century flourished in each region as it was reconquered by the Christians. Reconquered, right? It refers to the art and architecture created by the Moors, who stayed behind and continued to construct according to the traditions and techniques begun by the Almohads and the Nezrids.
Yeah.
Nasrids.
Oh, it literally says the Almohad in there?
Yeah.
Because that's where we get the Alamo domes, or the Alamo Theater, or the Alamo whatever. That comes from the Almohads, which were the Moorish. Right here. I'm pretty sure there's probably some Moors in the chat right now that know about where they're at, the Alamo Theater. And like, oh yeah, they be having boxing matches in there, and you know, nothing what we thought it would be, because we just not thinking. We just hear Alamo, the Alamo Theater. Nope, that's your Moorish castle.
A Conway attorney filed a lawsuit Thursday against officials in Pulaski County, arguing that he was wrongly denied entry into one of the county's courthouses while carrying a handgun. The complaint, filed by patent attorney Chris Corbett, seeks to test the limits of a decades-old law banning firearms from courthouses, with exceptions for bailiffs and other quote-unquote officers of the court. Corbett argues that definition includes attorneys. And remember, attorney is the most general sense, is a term that denotes an agent or a substitute, one who is instead of another, an agent or acting on behalf of another.
Agent.
The matter began earlier this month. Corbett said when he was trying to enter the Pulaski County District Courthouse adjacent to the jail in order to file paperwork with the clerk, a concealed carry licensee with an enhanced permit. Corbett said he usually stores his weapon in his car when going to court, but forgot he had it January 3rd as he walked into the courthouse.
Okay, real quick, Rancy.
Yeah, boy.
Real quick. Now, just regularly, how, you know, the regular world, the sheep people see the world running. Why? Let's just ask the question that way, like we don't know what we know. Why is the lawyer bringing guns to court? Why does the lawyer attorney guy need a gun? What's that about?
Yeah, I mean,
like as a regular
they can just say some right to their arms. Yeah.
Why are you carrying a gun? You're a lawyer. Why would you need a gun? What are you protecting? What did you do? What did you do that you need a gun? You're a lawyer, attorney guy. That's how you. That's that King Alfred. All minority leaders must be unseated at once.
At once. All minority leaders unseated at once. According to his complaint, Corbett asked the security guard if he could take the gun into the building and was told he could not. Corbett said he then tried to leave to take his gun back to the car, but was told to sit down while a security guard summoned a detective from the sheriff's office. Summoned a detective from where? From the sheriff's office. I thought that's supposed to be from municipal police or whatever.
Right.
Didn't the detective work at the precinct whatever, which is the municipal police whatever? Detective should come from the sheriff's office because the sheriff is the true lawman.
Mm-hmm.
Corbett was eventually allowed to return to his car, he said, after he showed the officers portions of Arkansas Code annotated 523-122, which contains the language about officers of the court. He was not allowed to take the gun into the courthouse, however. Corbett said the security officer and sheriff's staff acted professionally toward him while he explained his position. They never saw the gun, he added. The lawsuit filed in Pulaski County Circuit Court names Sheriff Eric Higgins and County Judge Barry Hyde as defendants. Both declined to comment. While Steinbuch said the lawsuit is intended to spur courts into addressing the issue, it is not the first time attorneys have questioned the state's courtroom prohibition on handguns. Now, could it be because they're robbing people and people are mad? Why they have to carry guns? Could it be the Liar Liar movie?
Right. Yo, look at that. Look at that.
It's
Yep.
probably a Liar Liar movie.
But another thing that was real interesting is the quote where it says that he showed
the annotated. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
To prove that he's an officer of the court.
Yeah.
My thing is, okay, this is the attorney guy, lawyer guy that people hire.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing you that I'm an officer of the court, and that's who we hire. That's who you're hired to act on behalf of you. Somebody who's working for the same people. When you got your little citation, it says you versus the Commonwealth, or you versus the lawyer guy you hired. He's suing now to prove that he works for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm on y'all side. Why y'all won't let me in with the gun?
Yeah.
I'm an officer for y'all, for the court.
Yeah.
I work for y'all. Why you won't let me in with my guns?
Mm-hmm. I'm
just like the security guards in here that hop on people who want to stand up for their rights and stuff like that. He's just the same thing as those highwaymen in there. Yeah. He's an officer of the court. He's the same thing as them. But you hired him, hopefully, that because you thinking he's fighting for your behalf. Nope, not Joe Pimento, the so-called fake whatever guy who's trying to diss Moorish. He's an officer of the court. He works for them. And then now he's up here making videos bashing Moorish, calling us sovereign citizens. Well, your co-worker is suing to prove to us that you guys work for the court.
Yeah.
Like, that's your co-worker. He exposing y'all.
You got nerve to talk about Morris. And you should be dealing with your brother Corbett here. Who's spilling the beans on you.
He's killing with this right here.
Beans.
He's showing.
Beans. Hot beans.
That's me. You can use it. To me, you can use this. It doesn't even have to be going on. You can just use. Oh no. There's another lawyer suing to prove that he is the officer of the court. Like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And these people up here, when you type in Google, is an attorney and officer of the court, you get the whole runaround. You get a whole runaround. Like they're trying to hide it. But then when you click on the news, boom, get lucky. Because last month, we got lucky. Last month, this is happening. Prophet said, check the news. It was right there waiting for us. I wonder if they got an article. Boom. They're exposing each other. Like I was telling the Green Sheet earlier, they done told so many lies that everything's starting to come to light now. Just like your mom told you. I don't know why you keep telling all them lies. The truth gonna come to the light.
Mm-hmm.
It always does.
Always.
Now they telling on themselves, killing themselves themselves just talking. There wasn't, no Moorish had to go in there and prove nothing. No Moorish, nothing. They did this to themselves. But Joe Pimento up here trying to bash and slander Moors within themselves, they're in their own stuff showing you they're corrupt. They're not who you thought they were. This guy's trying to bring guns in the court to prove that he's an officer for the court. Come on, man. And you hired him? And you hired him? You might as well let the bailiff represent you. You'd be like, whatever. Anybody who's working for them, you can just choose to represent you.
Now look at this part. Look at this part too. W. Whitfield Hyman, an attorney for Fort Smith, attracted attention in early 2018 when he sent letters to officials in 5 counties asking to be allowed to carry a gun into their courthouses. Only 3 of the counties responded, Hyman said in an interview, while others ignored his request. None allowed him to take his gun to court, and Hyman said he never followed up on the matter. No. What got my attention was only 3 counties responded. So 2 of them acquiesced. And their acquiescence means that it stands as law, but at the same time, they don't have the vote because it's 2-3. So the 3 counties outweigh the 2.
Yep.
So they're gonna look at it like, whatever. But it stands that it's officially something that officers of the court are allowed to do. Now remember, we're talking strictly about officers of the court. This doesn't have to do anybody coming off the street. Yeah, I got a Moorish nationality card. I can come in here with my. This has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, why was I thinking that?
This is totally separate. Don't have in your mind, Moors and this, and then this being the same. They're not dealing with constitutional right now. They're dealing with officer of the court.
And they still giving him the runaround.
This is what we're saying about with looking at it always look at it from your perspective. Because even if he's able to do that, he's an officer of the court. That's all that applies to. That's not something constitutional that applies to everybody. And people would look at this and say, oh, well, if their attorney could do it, you're not an officer of the court. Right. This does not apply to you.
They talking about Roman soldiers. That's what they talking about.
Yeah. Both Hyman and Corbett pointed to a 2017 law, Act 1087, right? So right there, letting you know it's not about Constitution. It's about an act. 1087. As the basis for their argument that they should be allowed to carry weapons into courthouses. The law decreased the penalty for illegally carrying a weapon into a courthouse, but the language referencing an officer of the court actually dates back further to Act 910 of 1997, according to legislative records. One of the authors of the 1997 law, former state rep Sandra Rogers, said Friday the law was written in response to concerns about courthouse shootings and was meant to include attorneys. That was written so that attorneys could carry guns into the courtroom. Now, there's no There's no talk whatsoever from Attorney Boy about this being connected to sovereign anything. And they say, well, because it's not. Well, no, the same thing goes with Moors and anything happening with them and the colonial jurisdiction. The colonial jurisdiction doesn't have jurisdiction. They're Moors. What the colonial jurisdiction should be doing is calling up their representative. But again, if they're claiming Negro, black, colored, and they're claiming all these other things that have nothing to do with them, then they'll create a jurisdiction for them. Which is again why they don't take sovereign, citizen, anti-government, whatever stuff serious. Because Moors know that as soon as they try to pull that, and you tell them that you're not that, then they go into something else. Or they verify it by telling you, oh, okay, yeah, we're just checking because we heard whatever. Remember, all these people are officers of the court. All of them talk. All of them know what's going on. All of them know what's going on. When one calls, it goes over all the radios.
Mm-hmm. No, they talk. When they go to their little lodges on Friday, they be talking.
Oh, they're definitely talking. Especially when they go to that lodge. Especially.
Moors is messing up their meetings. They can't even do their regular practices because they ain't there worried about y'all Moors waking up. They know, like the highwayman told me. I'm just tired of you Moors. I'm like, okay, so you know what I'm talking about then. You know who we are. You just tired of us. Oh, okay. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
You just hating. You just mad. It's an Inquisition though. I already knew what time it was. I almost like happy that he just kept it truthful. Like, yo, just the Inquisition.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of you Moors. I was almost happy at him doing that than going back and forth with lies.
Yeah. Playing the game.
Like, oh, that's just your opinion and all of that crap. Like, nope, he didn't even do none of that. He knew what we were saying was the truth. It's Inquisition.
Yeah.
Colonization. I'm just tired of you Moors. Right.
And he could be
right. And the only reason why you get to say stuff like that is because when he brung me down there, it was all Moors working. So it was only people who was going to help him was Moors to keep me kidnapped. It was all Moors down there. I was telling the Grand Sheik about the Chinese, the so-called Chinese, and our people selling out. You know, because the so-called China, they sell out majorly sell out. All of that coronavirus and their people getting sick, they let that happen to their people. They selling out too. But at least the Chinese get like a name, building with their name on a plaque when they sell out something big. You know what I mean? Some business they get, something. When we sell out for Jordan, a jacket, buffet, Groupon or whatever, you know what I mean? Certificate. Like, we'll sell out for anything. A free car wash, we don't care what it is. And we'll do you wrong for free car wash.
Nothing, yeah.
When we sell out, it's crazy. We'll sell out for anything, anything, anything. That whole thing in China, like I was telling you, Grand Chief.
Yeah.
I don't know if you went about the video you had posted with the Chinese going in.
Oh yeah.
The guy, right. Like the video was
yeah, that was interesting.
The video was peace.
Yeah.
I love the video, but then it made me think too, because certain things that he was saying and stuff like that had my brain going. You know, because I'm listening to him, and because you know, I know the video he's making is for they need help out there. You know what I mean? Like that's what he was trying to put the video out. Like, oh, come help us. But as he's saying this, I couldn't help but to start thinking about, well, who helped us? Like you guys got the coronavirus a couple weeks. We've been damaged for hundreds of years. Nobody came and helped us. Nobody helps us. Nobody. They got coronavirus. They got some cough, some sniffle, and now everybody needs help. I was telling the Grand Sheik, we walking around dead. We walk around dead. There is no vaccine for us. We walk around dead. Nobody helps us. Do you think these people, the world knows that we're Moorish, so they also know that we're not Negro, colored, Black, African American. Nobody helped us. Nobody helped. Nobody. It was only one man that came in 1913 and told us, "I came to you Moors because you needed me the most." Yeah. Nobody helped us. I'm like, why nobody never even went to war when all the nations joined together? You know, all them European nations joined together. Who helped the Moors? This has been hundreds of years. Nobody helped us.
They always claim that the Moors got this from that person and conquered this person and whatever. But where were these people when 1492 kicked off? Where were the people with the boats going to, you know what I mean, line up the boats all along the whole eastern seaboard? Like, you guys aren't coming in like that. We already know what you did over there in Spain. We already know what you did.
I was just amazed by that, man. Like, yeah, you're right. Y'all need help, but nobody helped the Moors. Nobody helped the Moors. Still, to this day, we still Black, Negro, colored, Black, African American. Our whole thing is dead.
Yeah, they know that's not real. Yeah, they know that's not real.
I told them, I said, at least the coronavirus is killing them. They get to go on. You know, the strings is cut. They get to go on to the next journey.
Yeah.
They left us alive dead. We can't even continue on.
Yeah.
We just walking corpses with an attitude.
Zombie apocalypse.
Nobody helped. There was no shot for that. Nobody came and dropped nothing on us. You know, like they do chemtrails, and maybe it was a vaccine to chemtrails that landed on us to get us out of this suppression. No, none of that. Nothing. No. Nothing. And I'm like, but they want help. You know, I know two wrongs don't make it right, but I was just like, man, why nobody never helped us? Yeah. Hundreds of years. Y'all worried about a couple weeks. Hundreds of years. We still, right now to this day.
No, again, too.
We still just.
You know, I remember there's two references. One, when that sister used to go into Olokun trance, and she said that, the ancestors are like, their back is almost turned on our people. Because it seems like they don't want to be free. They're content being enslaved. And then the other part of it is that they had their opportunity. Now we're just going to read this from The Aliites by Spencer Dew, page 51. Remember, we're talking about why nobody helped. Why nobody helped. Supporters of the machine were rewarded in material as well as political ways. This is often presented as a dubious legacy, one of corruption and graft. But such relational politics open spaces of possibilities for communities like the MSTA. The system of power, the organization that ran the city, offered a relational role for Ali and his organization. That role was filled by other organizations, but needed expansion, particularly into the Black Belt. Ali's Divine and National Movement responded to Thompson's need in the 1927 election for Black street-level operatives, extra precinct workers. In turn, the MSTA brought to this opportunity interpretations of the work that fused the political with the religious, identifying the legal and metaphysical. Ali wrote in the Moorish Guide article, now canonized as part of the Moorish literature, all registering. The 3,000 Muslims of the Grand Temple and the West Side Temple are making ready to register every man or woman in order to take the lead for the various candidates whom they have been instructed to vote for. Alderman Lewis B. Anderson, Honorable George W. Blackwell, Honorable Oscar DePriest, Honorable H. Jackson, all working through the regular Republican organizations of which the Honorable Daniel M. Jackson is our matchless leader. All know the whole situation and have their way in time to give the order to go. The Muslims will be ready. As a central document of Aliite thought and a foundational statement for ongoing debates about the theories of sovereignty within Aliite communities, this small text deserves detailed reading. Ali here declares his local organization under two temples to include a certain number of recognized citizens who, moreover, understand their responsibilities as citizens to involve both registering others, non-Moors, so-called blacks, from their neighborhoods and voting, and encouraging those they register to vote for the Republican machine slate. This slate, as listed here, includes only the African-American candidates and one African-American party operative entrepreneur, Daniel Jackson, possibly the most powerful African-American in the state. Ali is thus taking upon himself the role of precinct captain, an essential role in the Chicago machine system. As Marco Domenico says in the oral history of Chicago politics, we don't want nobody sent. The mark of a good precinct captain is good registration. Registration that your election, the most important thing of all. When you register your new voters, you have many, many people. When Ali used his movement's newspaper to declare on his own authority as prophet of the universal creator God, vote Anderson for the second ward alderman, he was extending his hand not only to support and uplift of a politician he identified as Moorish, but also a receive payment for the civic work of his community. Now think about that level. And then on top of Daniel Jackson, don't forget you could throw Oscar the Priest on there because he actually won. And you can also put Chicago banker. Let me get the name. The Moore put me on this one. Moore told me about this one, and it was interesting. What is the name again? His name is Binker or something. But he's a big banker in Chicago. And he's one of the people in that picture with Oscar the Priest, Jesse Binger. Jesse Binger. He was one of the people on the stage with Noble Drew Ali with Oscar the Priest. And he was the first black banker of Chicago. And then so they had the bank, which would be the treasury and all that, right? They had the people in office, and then remember they voted Republican. So he's talking about bring back the Republic and all this. And remember in the thing they were already calling him the president.
Yep.
In the convention minutes, they were calling Noble Drew Ali President Ali. And again, remember, Oscar the Priest won. Because of Moors. All these politicians winning because of Moors votes. So there's no way that this is some anti-government whatever if Moors got people voted into office. People are lying.
Right.
Anti-government how? When he's bringing people into office.
The problem is there's imposters sitting in the Moorish seats.
Mm-hmm. Imposters in the Moorish seats.
The setup is there. It's just the wrong people are running it. You got the floor guys running the business when it's supposed to be the de jure guys who created it running the business. But now you got the floor guys running it. You gotta let the natural people of the land run their ancestral estate. If you don't do it, it's gonna be wrong. How can somebody come in your house and have a party? This your house. Mm-hmm. If they have a party at your house, somebody asks them where the bathroom at, it's gonna be confusion. Somebody asks them, well, where's the such and such at? It's gonna be confusion. That's why so much confusion. And everybody's because the guests are having parties in the master's house. Mm-hmm. Like they don't know what nothing that. You're a guest too. How are you? You don't know what nothing that. Causing all this confusion because this ain't your house. You don't know what nothing that. Let the master run his house. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's
where it has to be at.
The house.
Yeah. But then again, these people can't believe that this is the imposter. Like they really can't see it. It's really not registering that they're the landlord, not the tenant. But it's only that way in a proper status.
Yep. But they took the more from the land. Yeah, we know nothing about the land. Nothing. European, I like watching my farming things. Yeah. European said the most interesting thing. He said, I'm not worried about owning the land. I'm worried about running it. I said, what? What did he just say? What did he just say? I said, rewind it again, let him play. And I was like, yo, you really just said that. Because we own the land.
Yeah.
There's no debate. We own the land. We just don't know how to run it. We don't know how to run it. They know how to run it.
They know how to run it.
And because they know how to run it, they're running it. Now, they don't care whose land it is. They know how to run it. We don't know nothing about no land. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I remember first coming into the information and hearing more say the same thing. We don't know, the economics about the land, what I mean, that comes out of it. I didn't even know what they were saying by that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that just sounds interesting. Nationality, the order of the day. That's all I knew. But now, I'm like, oh, yeah, we don't have any horticulture, husbandry, nothing to the land. We don't know how to cultivate, nothing. We just know how to go consumer. We just buy finished product. We don't know how to make the product. We just go buy the finished product. Europeans know how to run the land. Those who run it own it. Not the people who think they, because you tied to the land. If you don't know how to work it, hey, I don't care. These people, everybody got a Bible in their house, but they don't know how to work it. They don't know how to work it. They let preacher guy go up there and explain it to them. But all they had to do was do their own research. We don't do none of that for the land. None of that. We let somebody else control the narrative, control the land, control the resources, because we don't know. We don't know how to do it.
Let's give another reference point again, back to the Aliites, Spencer Du. Coming together under the red Moorish flag as a unified nationality group, the MSTA engaged in ethnic coalition politics, making a bid for recognition as a constituency group, voting in solidarity as a bloc of citizens. Ali's MSTA thus resembled the myriad other ethnic political clubs started in Chicago by immigrant groups with an eye toward the quid pro quo of livelihoods in exchange for votes. Even the language used to describe such politics reflects the level of material need to which it appealed. Below the level of graft and payoffs for rich cronies, local political machines in Chicago were built on bread and butter strategies for building up a voter base, swapping something as basic as food for electoral support. Attention to bread and butter matters as much to Aliite history as attention to real political power. Ali laid out a doctrine of economic security. Moorish Americans, he wrote, as part of their responsibility as citizens, ought to urge that our businessmen and women build on the principle of service and keep firmly in mind the necessity of keeping each dollar spent as much as possible within the spheres of our own activities, where they will create further openings of business enterprises and wider opportunities for the men and women of our group to procure soundly remunerative employment. Ali insisted that no other one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic security. Ali's mission to his nation, involving working for social and material benefit, for material improvement, for dispensing charity, for aiding the unfortunate, for protecting our civil rights, and for aiding one another, and for elevating the nation. As an Ali post column in the MSTA's Moorish Voice put it, much of Aliite history is geared toward practical and immediate concerns: employment, food to eat, communal economy, wherein Aliites support each other. Early MSTA members started businesses from laundries and cafeterias to grocery stores, while the organization itself ran a publishing company and newspaper, as well as the Moorish Manufacturing Company, which sold cleaning products and health supplements. Aliite political organization and Ali's theories of politics and law must be considered in light of this focus on practical economics as well. So just putting that out there.
Ahead of his time, man. He was ahead of his time. Because I'm listening. I've heard this.
I've heard this. I mean? Yeah.
Like that. I've heard this. Yeah. But like right now, it's settling in differently. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I love farming. You know what I mean? I love being out there with it. And I'm like, dang, man, he knew what it was. He knew what it was.
Yeah.
Like, like the national, he knew everything. He had the whole shebang. All right, give y'all nationality. I'm gonna tell y'all better start controlling y'all resources and these get your economics right through these resources, because that's how you're gonna be able to control your land. Now you own it. Now you know that you're tied to the land. The only way you're gonna be able to keep it is through the resources, running your own resources. And then the other thing
hold on one second, more. One second. Peace, more. Peace.
Hello?
Peace. All right.
Hello?
Peace, more.
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Yo, everything's peaceful. I'm just in class right now. So you could just send a Islam to the Moors out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's that real.
Okay.
It's that real.
So you're busy right now then?
Yeah, what you saying? What's good?
No, I was just saying, like, the chaplain came to talk to me, and she was basically saying, like, you know, what's going on, and she's basically saying, she came to see me the first time, so it's easier for you to get into the building, and if you want to start coming on the ranges to, you know, start teaching the brothers,
all right,
you know, some of the science, right?
I'll give her an email tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. So
right.
Whenever you know, brothers are here, the harvest is here, so you already know.
All right, yo.
All right, so you already know. That's all I was calling you for.
All right, no problem.
I'll give that mess with the chaplain was in.
Yeah, I'll give her a shout. I'll call her tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Peace and love, man.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace.
All right.
Yeah. So there we go again. Yeah, more.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, carry on.
I lost my train of thought. What was I going in on?
I lost your train of thought.
Oh, okay. I know one of the Moors in the chat. Let me see.
That's crazy.
So the Moors be on it, man. They see that the farmers, the etymology of farmer is one who collects taxes. Yep, I seen that. But I remember when I looked that up, I was like, wow, that's crazy. A farmer don't mean what we thought it meant? No. A farmer is one who collects taxes. And husbandry is someone who deals with the soil. Like, right, all you gotta do is look it up. That's what a husband is supposed to be doing.
Yeah. A true husband does that. That's crazy.
I'm like, yo, we got this whole thing wrong. The whole thing, we just wrong. And cultivation, the prophet bringing the information. 100 ahead of his time, being ahead of his time. Yeah, that's right. Okay, it's coming back.
Yeah.
But the prophet, he already knew, man. Already knew what it was. That's why he's the prophet. That's why I always tell you at the end of the show that the prophet is the man, man.
He's the man.
The prophet's the man. He's the man.
He had something
every
figured
time
out.
you be like, it's 2020. And then it just hits you again. Yeah, if I told you everything, you go back to sleep. Come on, man. Like, you be hitting me in the head all day.
Yo, if I told you everything, you'll go back to sleep. Right? That's how deep this is.
Yep.
That I'm not gonna wake you all up at once because you're gonna tear up something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna wake you up all at once because if I do that, you're gonna tear something up.
Mm-hmm.
But if I gave you everything, you'll go back to sleep.
Yep. And another, that's crazy. Another thing too, because I this is just my humble opinion. Like a lot of Moors, we focus on, there's nothing wrong with it. I think we should study that, right to travel, licenses, and stuff like that. But sometimes I'm like, that has nothing to do with the prophet was just saying, with the economics, the resources. You know what I'm saying? Like because like I said, I got 3 so-called lots of land right now that I'm operating. I walk to all 3 of them. I don't
like to travel.
And right. I cultivate all 3 of them. All 3 of them, just walking. And that's back to the resources, working the soil. I'm trying to get back on, but I'm just doing it thinking, this is what my ancestors was doing. Forgetting that, the prophet told you to be doing this stuff. You need to get back on your resources so you can control your economics through the resources. Like you should be doing that. Like the cafeteria now, like they had cafeterias. I'm like, man, that was genius. Like because they do that now today. You know what I mean? Like in summer youth programs for summer vacation, they go to the Boys and Girls Club. They have this free lunch thing that they do. At lunchtime, and I'm like, yeah, that's what when you said the cafeteria, that's the first thing I thought. Like, the prophet was doing that back in the 20s. He was doing this.
20s.
Almost, you was already ahead of the game. You said, because I'm like, okay, if you set up a cafeteria, one thing Moors love to do is eat. That's one thing Moors love to do.
Moors love some eating. Moors love some eating.
Love to eat.
Love to eat.
You get them.
Especially if the food's good, or Moors gonna eat.
Eat.
Moors are gonna eat.
Eat. There won't be no debating, nothing. It's too easy eating that plate. You can go on that stage and say whatever you want. Moors gonna be, eating. I said, as soon as you said, I said, that was genius. Prophet knew. You already knew.
Yeah, you do, yo. You do. He was ahead of the game for real.
Ahead of the game, and I'm thinking, I'm like, of course, if Moors was cultivating, growing fruits and vegetables,
got a manufacturing company and all that. Of course, you're freaking running stuff. Like, what do you mean?
I said, come on, man.
Running stuff.
And I'm like, and then, because nowadays you got to order this, order that to make soap. You got to order your shea butter. You got to order this. You got to order that. You can grow all that stuff. You can grow the mint. You can grow the lavender, and then press it into an oil and create your own soap. Like, you don't have to buy anything. I grow my own lavender. I grow my own mint. I grow my own parsley, whatever. I don't care whatever it is getting grown. And I'm like, because it didn't click until you were reading what you were reading. Like, all the stuff that I'm growing, I can ferment that, hook that up, and I already got the oils. But it didn't click until, because I was always stay away from it because I got to buy shea butter. I got to buy this, but I can grow all of that. all of that. I found out this new plant that Moors was growing called sulfur, some plant that they was growing, but they was able to do everything with it. You know, create soaps and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I can grow that. Ordered the seed right up. The seed, I got an ounce of seeds of the sulfur for three notes and 28 cents. An ounce of it. Come on, man. And all it's gonna do is I'll never have to buy them seeds ever again. Because they're gonna produce more seeds, and I'm good. Got the soap growing, the soap from the sulfur. I got the mint already. Turn that into and then freeze it. You got a soap. You got soap.
That's what's up.
No, but Ali way ahead of his time. He told you Moors are just plain rich. I could see his face when he said it too. Like, yo, you Moors are just plain rich. Like he said it like, but you're just stupid. Yeah. Like that's what the whole thing I feel like he was saying. He was like, you Moors are just plain rich, but you're just stupid. Like, that's your problem. Like that's the problem. And I get it now though. Now it's starting to click. Like right now, it's clicking real hard. I'm like, okay. Once you can run the land, you good. You know how to run the land? Can't nobody do nothing with you.
Yeah.
I seen this European build a water well with 2 coat hangers. He found the stream underneath the ground in his backyard by using the magnetism of 2 coat hangers, telling you which way the stream goes. He started digging directly into the ground. Water came up, built him a water well in his backyard by himself. I was like, I never even thought to think. I said, with 2 coat hangers? How you do that? He's like, oh, the magnet force from the water is gonna come through. It's gonna show you. It's gonna pull right through the ground. It's gonna show you which way the stream is coming. I said, oh, that's unbelievable. He's standing there with the 2 coat hangers in his hand, and they just twirling, showing. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. But we complain that the water bill too high. I'm like, the man just built a water well in his backyard.
That's crazy.
It's incompetence that has us the way we are.
Yeah.
All we know is just pay. We don't know how to do for self. We just know, oh, I got to pay this bill. I got to pay this. I got to pay this. If you knew how to do for self, all that just goes away. That's my real thing, because I'm like, man, all these writs you be writing, like, you could have figured out how to build a water well. Like, you didn't have to write the water company a million writs. Oh, you supposed to give me this for free and all of that. I'm just my answer. No, go back there and build you a water well. This your ancestral estate. Go build you a water well. But we don't know how to do that. We don't know.
Straight.
Prophet was ahead of his time. And he was the man. I know they was mad at the prophet when he came on the scene back then. Yeah. I'd have been mad too.
Yeah.
I'd have been mad. I'm like,
just looking at him, you're mad. Just looking at him, you're mad. Yep. Forget what he's doing.
Yep.
Just seeing that more pass through is like, oh, this guy is here again.
You gotta sit there and you think about it too, man. You gotta remember, Noble Drew Ali is not no basketball. Okay, this is the 20s. He's not no jazz player or comedy or shuffling, jiving guy at this time.
Yeah.
You know, entertainer. Like all our leaders now are entertainers.
Yeah.
The prophet wasn't that. The prophet wasn't that. C. Freeman goes right in on that. Right in on that. How the prophet, this man didn't have no education, no PhD, doctorate, nothing. Nothing. It was just mind-boggling how he can just come on the scene and just have all this information. It was just shocking to people. Yeah. I would have been mad too. Mad. Like he didn't go to know nothing, and you just like us Moors now. You know, when Moors speak now, you know how many times people be like, "Oh, what school you went to?" You go or see us studying. Oh, what you going to school for? They think we in school. We not in school. We don't go to no college or nothing like that.
Right.
We just studying. I can imagine the pressure the prophet was getting back then, especially at that time. Supposed to be so-called Jim Crow coming up and all of that.
Yeah.
And this man's just reading. Way ahead of his time. I know Negroes was mad. We think, you see how Dirty Moors be mad at us in 2020? I know Dirty Moors was mad at the prophet. Mad when he came on the scene. Because the Prince Hall and stuff was live. That was already in action. Fresh, too. Fresh Prince Hall. They was really working for the European at that time. Hard body. Prophet come right on the scene. I'm letting out all the secrets.
You seen that one the more put in the chat?
Which one?
Brother Adon's last message. Take into account the runs running the line have stuff already built underground. So watch where you dig.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Watch where you dig.
Look at that. Because we're 100 years behind.
Consider that too. Yes, water well and all that, but just watch where you dig. You know? And if you dig and water does shoot up, you know, at least have your little litmus strip or something like that so you can test the water and all that. Let's go.
Oh yeah, you gotta come on.
Oh my gosh, water!
Don't just come up over drinking. No, you're not. Where that water came from? You probably hit some pipe. You probably hit some pipe in your house. Probably hit a pipe in your house. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because that's what Moors do. We find out some information and go and try to go crazy.
Do it. Yeah.
You know, like
go do it right now.
Yep. Right now we're gonna go do it. Be out there. And same thing with right to travel. Oh, I don't gotta have no license. Go right out there. And now you're just regurgitating. It's not really in you for the right to travel. Now you in trouble talking about that Moorish stuff don't work. No, you don't work. Just like when you busted that pipe in the backyard trying to dig a well. Brother Yusuf wasn't tripping. You was tripping. You was tripping.
Crazy. Any questions out there? Questions? If you got questions, throw them in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Mar.
I really just keep thinking about what you just read from the book, the Aliites, and with the prophet, you know, because like I said, we heard this before.
Yeah.
Like this is really sitting on me right now. Like, okay, I think I know what to do. Like I got a plan now, because what you just read, I'm like, okay, I got a plan, because this can lead to other things. You know what I mean? Like with me with the, you know, working the soil, cultivating.
Right.
Like that can lead to another, because my whole thing too was like I was going to try to do something, you know, because I sell my fruits and vegetables, but what I wanted to do was like on a holy day, on Friday, Moors can eat for free. But but my thing was, you got to come over here with national identification card. Like I need to see all of that.
Yeah.
I want to see all of that. You're not going to just come over here, oh, I'm a Moor. I need to see turban and fezzes, and ID. And ID, because I don't, you're not getting free food if you're a straddler. You can't be straddling.
Yeah. You gotta use that more. You gotta use that Moorish hoe.
Right. Oh man. That was the first thing. You know, I was telling the Green Sheik, you know, the hoe that they use in gardening, so-called gardening, like I can't even use the word farmer, a so-called farmer would use a hoe to to get out the weeds and stuff. The hoe is called a Moorish hoe. It's not just called a hoe, it's called a Moorish hoe. And Sheldon the Moor introduced it. I learned that too. That was the guy's name. He was the guy who made it was Sheldon. They called him Sheldon the Moor. This is like in the 13th century. Moors never used a shovel. I'm reading it from the book. Moors never used a shovel. All they needed was the Moorish hoe. That's it. They would just use the Moorish hoe to make the compost, to chop up the weeds, to till the land. Everything was the Moorish hoe. That's where I'm starting to learn a lot more too by researching Moorish agriculture. You start learning so much more about the law. Like those words that we were using to cultivate the soil and stuff like that, those words are in Black's Law Dictionary. And it goes back to your ancestral estate. That's why they lead you into being a farmer and stuff like that. Because once you go back to the original words, you're giving the Moors back their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing too, why a lot of farmers, so-called farmers, are getting in trouble because just like black, you calling yourself black, you're dead in the eyes of the law. You're calling yourself a farmer, you're getting yourself in something you don't want to be involved in. And you're wondering why the so-called government can just come to somebody's farm. Because when you get into the so-called cultivating stuff, you start seeing people making videos about so-called government officials or highwaymen coming to their house, charging them to grow food on their own land. Like it's basically a tax for you to be able to grow food on your own land. But because you're calling it a farm, because you're saying you're a farmer, you're calling yourself a 14th, 15th Amendment citizen, so now all of this applies to you. It's deeper. The rabbit hole is deeper than we thought. We thought it was just for Negro, blacks, and colors. Nope. Nope.
Everybody.
They did the whole thing. They had to make the whole thing corporate. They had to make the whole thing corporate. And back to the straddlers and these modern Europeans too. Once we start noticing too that Europeans do study. A lot of their videos that they show, that free man on the land stuff. There's another thing I was telling the Grand Sheik that bothers me. They do this free man on the land stuff. They studying. They got Black's Law Dictionary just like we got Black's Law Dictionary.
Yeah,
they reading, executive orders just like we reading whatever. They studying. How they don't see that this Morocco? Like I said, I'm Brother Yusuf. I'm the dust in the corner. The trash that didn't get swept up. I'm nothing. Nobody. And these people don't know that this Morocco, y'all the free man on the land. You up there giving speeches to all these modern Europeans, and there's hundreds of them in the crowd. None of y'all know that this Morocco, that's the straddling in the fence. That's why I be looking at modern Europeans like, you guys do all of that, but you'll never say that you're ipso juris Moorish subjects. Because that's the law.
Yeah.
That's the law. They're ipso juris Moorish subjects. They'll play all this free man on the land. We're God's children, like the Sheik was saying. Everything but to deal with what it really is. This is the land of the Moors. And I'm like, dang, like, to see that they know that they're losing their so-called houses. They're losing, they going through the same stuff that we're going through. But they'll go through all of that and still not say that this is Morocco. Knowing that this is Morocco.
Knowing.
Like that is like, okay, I'm like, okay, there's a real issue going on here. Like a real issue going on. Because you guys are like, basically like, well, blow this whole thing up. And because we're not giving it back to the Moors. That's all I'm seeing. Like, because they won't be like, oh, this Morocco. It's a few of them. Like Michelle.
Pittsburgh.
Right, Michelle Gibson will tell you, this Morocco. I thought I was telling her. She told me. I know.
And I know this is
Morocco. Michelle Gibson. I said, welcome to Morocco. She put, yeah, I know. I was like, oh, okay. But she's the only one. The rest of these free men on the land crap, they straddling the fence.
Yeah. Straddling.
That's a real issue. Because I'm like, you guys know we're not Negro, colored, black. Like, cause that's my other thing. Okay, you guys know we're not black. So when we say we're Moorish, what's the problem? Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Lil Yusuf got a cold.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Gave him that, give him some honey, sprinkle that cinnamon on top, get rid of that cough.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So of course we're gonna
make that ginger tea.
Yeah. Once you get that ginger tea bubbling.
Oh yeah.
Get those hot sips. Yeah, that'll do a good one. Once again, Sybils by Mama Zogbe. Know them by name. Many of these dates cannot be confirmed and seem to contradict either the era of nations and rulers or simply are too far in ancient history to be connected with any recordable event. So much of what remains of the lives of the Sybils are from secondary and tertiary sources. The Catholic Church and its revisionist writers have harbored a monopoly on these African high priestesses since they seized total power and oversaw the destruction of their mystery schools, temples, and libraries. However, this should by no means invalidate who they are and their absolute critical and historical significance in linking the African divine spirit throughout the fabric of all the world history. What is also certain is that the African divine spirit that guided them rests in the blood and ancestral soul of all African people. This ancient tradition still exists in the Mami Isis, Mami Watas, and others in West Africa and the diaspora. Just as there were many male prophets during ancient times, but only a few were distinguished from amongst them, this same tradition held true of the Sybils. Although they maintained grand temples to Mami and the ancestral oracular solar sun serpent deity, and the divine words, prophecies, and wisdom was quoted, honored, and revered all throughout the ancient world, less than a dozen were elevated to renowned status during any given period. Although the Sybils were known to the non-African ancient world only as prophetesses, all throughout ancient Africa, they were revered as divine. The great mother healers, diviners, and sages who literally gave birth to the gods and aligned their people to their own personal destiny, divinity, and to their ancestors. The Sybils were descendants of the first prehistoric matrilineal order of so-called serpent-worshipping clans, of whom all African queens, queen mothers, and the ecclesiastical order of priestesses and diviners, healers, artisans, and stone builders were born. The Sybils. One from today. There's another one from today. Spencer B. And the Heights. And of course, the Black's Law Dictionary. Yes, I wanted to get it out the way a little bit early because we got early day tomorrow. Islam to all Moors. Islam, Brother Yusuf.
Islam.
Islam, Moor.
Islam know all du jour Moors. Give thanks to the Grand Sheikh for the Canaanland platform. Give thanks to all the mothers and honors to the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. The man.
The man. He definitely was. Definitely is.
It is. I was about to say it still is, man. Nobody
always will always be. Will always be. He did some greatness. So we'll just close out. Islam to all Moors, peace and love. We'll give you one. Give you two to close out. Don't forget WillofAllah.com. Get any of the albums. You won't be disappointed. Islam Moors.
Dreamy and drooling, phone for the fooling. Mental slaves sell out or get bought out for cooning. Being your example to follow with no strain. Met means mind, so govern and entertain is more than you imagine. Carbon is melanin. Quran and Bible angels are cherubim and seraphim. Riding on the light angles, traveling at warp speed. We created cross reads, now we can't walk free. The mind is the plantation. Everything is mental. Even filling your brother with lead like a pencil. Mercenaries with chalk use bodies as a stencil. If rival gangs won't stop you, barbed wire fence will. It could take more, but it might take less. Cursing your God on Job's cash in the fake checks. Spending fake monopoly money, counterfeit at best. When you see something is wrong, you need to counter it best as you can. You don't need a magic wand or to click your heels twice to escape dreamland. Just use your mind. If you can't relate, you're living in an illusion. Slave to the dream state. Just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's lace. He brought nationality and link back to your eating. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by the shoulders, waking from their dream state. If you just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your east state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by their shoulders, waking from their dream state. Invasion. Drew Ali my water when the fire starts blazing. Running with no holy buckets, the Caucasian. While Asiatics daydreaming, mental stargazing. Not paying attention, but paying taxes and fines. Now said the world is yours, he really meant mine. If I ruled the world, you wouldn't want to be black. You wouldn't want to be a deadbeat dad or be whack for sure. You wouldn't want to be the dirty moral leader, convicted and facing my firing squad either. You won't be put in a box, forget the cedar. Taking tires off cars at unexpired meters. If I ruled the world, dirty Moors would hate it. Find them with their wrists slit in bathrooms naked. Find them holding scimitar handles slumped over with suicide notes to Jehovah. If you just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's lace. He brought nationality and link back to your east state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by the shoulders, waking from their dream state. If you just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your east state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by their shoulders, waking from their dream state. Dream a little dream. Wake up from the nightmare. Dream a big dream. Live your life in fright, scared to change. When everything that grows must do such or stay stagnant. Living your life as a pageant, made of faces with eyeliner and makeup, created by the same ones you call racist. Wake up, allow them their dignity and exercise patience. Don't shock them too hard with electrifying statements. Everything cloudy, mind acting rowdy, hypnotized by Pied Piper, signing rap ungodlies. Having so much influence, youths won't pull their pants up. Looking like a jailbird, begging for some handcuffs. In a dream state, getting grands up for freedom. Fiat is a slave to banks, you better see them. No different than the people are slaves to brand names. Move from dream to reality, change the landscape. He started from the top, don't listen to your man Drake. Only till clan hates and Masonic handshakes don't work. Moors are back, do your homework and assignments. Realize Moorish is the science. Just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your east. Say that Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by the shoulders, waking from their dream state. If you just heard about you, Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your east state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shaken by their shoulders, waking from their dream state.